Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're looking at this YouTube presentation. Today we're going to be talking about Dolley Madison, and no, that is not spelled incorrectly. And we're ending Women's History Month this month, so on we go. But before we can start, we have to answer yesterday's questions. So the first question is, who went to the Georgia Aquarium? That's from CNN 10. Our second question is, what is Madison known as the father of? Our third question is, what papers did Madison contribute to? Our fourth question is, what part did Madison play in Jefferson's administration? And our last question is, what party did Madison help found? So all that's in yesterday's PowerPoint, so hopefully you got it, except for Carl Zeus's question. Dolley Madison. Okay, well, Dolley Madison was born in 1768. Her father was a Quaker. She married a Todd, and he died, and so she was a widow at a pretty young age. They had two kids. Only one son survived, and that kid was later adopted by Madison. Her father was a Southern planter, but he did free all his slaves on his death. She was married in 1790 to John Todd, a Philadelphia lawyer, but he died in 1793 from the yellow fever epidemic of 1793. So let's talk about Dolley Madison for a second. And this is where I'm going to talk about her. Okay, so Dolley Madison is considered the most popular widow in Washington, D.C. So if any of you guys get into politics and you go to Washington, there's going to be a term called in the Beltway. In the Beltway means that people who are that live in Washington, they have like these little groups and stuff that get together. So Dolley was a very young widow. She was considered beautiful. But the thing about Dolley is that any party she went to, she became the focus of the party. So even though you're a hostess and you might have got jealous of Dolley, you wanted her at your party because she was only at the best parties. So Aaron Burr thought Dolley and James Madison would get along. I don't know why. Madison was very shy. Dolley was very outgoing. But he introduced them, thought they would get along. One of my teachers said that she asked to be introduced. I don't know how true that is. They wed in 1794. So they were introduced in 1794, had a very short engagement, and got married. And she was, as I said, the toast of Washington. So remember, George Washington never lived in the White House. Abigail Adams was the first lady to live in the White House. But Dolley Madison, Madison's wife, really set the tone as to what a first lady does. She had projects that she took care of. She invited people to dinner parties. The most telling thing about Dolley Madison, the greatest thing about her, was that she was able to bring Federalists and Democratic Republicans together. I mean, we could really use her today, where she would bring all these different people together. Nobody would refuse her invitation to come to the White House. And that's what she did. Now, as First Lady, when we went to the War of 1812, she was the one who saved George Washington's portrait. So you see the picture there of her holding up the portrait, tied up, and leaving the White House as it was being burned down. Once the White House was rebuilt, she refurnished it, and like I said, from that point on, she's really the model for all first ladies.